Sarah Bennett stood before the ornate mirror in her luxurious dressing room, her reflection a stark reminder of how much her life had changed in just 6 months. At 18, she should have been preparing for college, dreaming about her future, and enjoying the carefree days of youth. Instead, she was adjusting the expensive pearl necklace that felt more like a collar than an accessory, preparing to attend another high society event as Mrs. Hassan Al-Rahman. The massive bedroom around her, with its gold-leafed furniture and crystal chandeliers, was a constant reminder of the gilded cage she now called home. The marriage had been arranged swiftly, a business merger disguised as a union between families. Her husband, Karim Al-Rahman, was a renowned businessman, known for his strategic brilliance and charismatic public persona. To the world, he was the epitome of success and sophistication. Behind closed doors, however, he was a distant figure who viewed their marriage as merely another successful acquisition. Sarah's fingers trembled as she applied her lipstick, remembering the day her parents had presented the marriage proposal as an opportunity of a lifetime. The Al-Rahman family's influence stretched across continents, and the alliance would ensure her family's financial security for generations to come. What choice did she have? Her parents' struggling business had been on the verge of bankruptcy, and this marriage was their salvation. Mrs. Al-Rahman called Marina, her personal assistant, from outside the door. "The car will be ready in 15 minutes. Mr. Al-Rahman expects you downstairs." Sarah took a deep breath, straightening her designer dress. "Thank you, Marina. I'll be right there." The grand staircase of their Dubai mansion seemed to stretch endlessly before her as she descended, each step measured and graceful, just as she had been taught by the family's etiquette consultant. Karim waited at the bottom, impeccably dressed. In a tailored suit, his dark eyes appraising her appearance with clinical detachment. "You look presentable," he said, his tone carrying the same warmth as a business evaluation. "Remember, the Thompson Group will be at tonight's gala. Their support is crucial for our expansion into the European market. Make sure you charm them." "Of course," Sarah replied, maintaining the perfect smile she had practiced countless times. "I've reviewed their profiles and interests as requested." The ride to the gala was silent, filled only with the soft hum of their luxury vehicles, engine and the occasional tap of Karim's fingers on his phone screen. Sarah watched the glittering Dubai skyline pass by, remembering how she had once dreamed of visiting this city as a tourist, not as a resident trapped in its golden towers. The event was held at the prestigious Royal Palm Hotel, its ballroom, transformed into a scene from a modern Arabian Nights. As they entered, Sarah felt the familiar weight of countless eyes upon them. The power couple, the young American beauty who had captured the heart of one of Dubai's most eligible bachelors. If only they knew the truth. "Karim! Sarah!" a voice called out, and Sarah turned to see Victoria Thompson approaching, her silver dress catching the light. "We were hoping to see you both tonight." Sarah seamlessly slipped into her role, engaging in conversation about art galleries and charity events, while Karim discussed business prospects with Victoria's husband. She had become an expert at this dance, at being the perfect accessory to her husband's ambitions. As the evening wore on, Sarah excused herself to visit the powder room. In the relative privacy, she allowed her smile to fade for just a moment. The mirror reflected a young woman who looked far older than her years, weighted down by expectations and responsibilities she had never asked for. But something was different tonight. As she pressed her hand against her stomach, Sarah felt a mixture of terror and hope. The subtle changes in her body over the past few weeks, the morning sickness she had carefully hidden from everyone, they all pointed to one undeniable truth. She was carrying the Al-Rahman heir. The news should have been a moment of joy, but Sarah knew better. This baby would change everything, for better or worse. As she returned to the ballroom, she caught sight of Karim deep in conversation with a striking woman she had never seen before. The woman's hand lingered too long on Karim's arm, and his smile held a warmth Sarah had never seen directed at her. Their eyes met across the room, and in that moment, Sarah realized that her carefully constructed world was about to shatter. The baby growing within her was no longer just a personal miracle. It was a game changer, in a game she hadn't even known she was playing. The woman's name was Sophia Chen, as Sarah would soon discover, and she was far from being just another socialite at a Dubai gala. A successful international businesswoman in her own right, Sophia had built an empire in Asian markets that rivaled even the Al Rahman Group's influence. Her presence at the gala was no coincidence. She had come with a purpose, and that purpose seemed increasingly centered on Karim. Sarah watched from across the ballroom as Sophia commanded attention with effortless grace. Unlike Sarah's carefully studied etiquette, Sophia's sophistication came naturally, born from years of navigating the highest echelons of power. Her laughter carried across the room, drawing others into her orbit, including Karim, who hadn't left her side for the past hour. "They make quite the pair, don't they?" Marina appeared at Sarah's side, offering her a glass of water instead of champagne, a subtle indication that she knew Sarah's secret. Miss Chen has been making waves in Dubai's business circles lately. There's talk of a potential partnership between her company and the Al Rahman Group. Sarah's hand instinctively moved to her stomach. A partnership. The word felt bitter on her tongue. She had seen enough business partnerships in the past 6 months to recognize when something more intimate was brewing. The next morning, Sarah awoke to an empty bed, not unusual as Karim often left early for business meetings, but when she descended for breakfast, she found him in the dining room with Sophia Chen, both surrounded by documents and engaged in intense discussion. They looked up as she entered, and Sarah couldn't miss the flash of annoyance that crossed Karim's face at the interruption. "Sarah, good morning," he said, his tone clipped. "Ms. Chen and I are discussing a crucial merger. Would you mind having your breakfast in the solarium today?" It wasn't a request. Sarah nodded, maintaining her composure as she turned away, but not before noticing Sophia's satisfied smirk. In the solarium, Marina served her breakfast with sympathetic eyes. "The merger documents arrived last night," Marina whispered, placing a glass of ginger tea beside Sarah's plate to help with the morning sickness. "Ms. Chen's company has developed revolutionary technology for sustainable energy. Mr. Al Rahman seems very invested in the partnership." Over the next few weeks, Sophia became an increasingly common presence at the mansion. Business meetings stretched into dinner discussions, and dinner discussions evolved into late-night strategy sessions. Sarah found herself pushed further into the background of her own home, reduced to a ghost-like presence floating through the grand halls. But Sarah wasn't the naive teenager she had been 6 months ago. She began to notice things. The way Sophia's proposals always seemed to require Karim's personal attention in various locations around the world, the private conversations that stopped abruptly when she entered a room, the subtle changes in Karim's behavior. One evening, as Sarah sat in her private garden, the only place she truly felt at peace, she overheard a conversation through the open window of Karim's study above. "The American girl was a strategic choice," Sophia's voice drifted down. "But strategy evolves, Karim. Your father's old-fashioned insistence on maintaining appearances through marriage, it's holding you back. The market is changing. You need a partner who understands the new world order." "Sarah serves her purpose," Karim replied. "The American connections through her family have been valuable. But for how long? Your board members whisper about your young, inexperienced wife. They question your judgment. With me, we could create something unprecedented. The Al Rahman Chen Group could dominate markets from Dubai to Shanghai." Sarah pressed her hands against her stomach, feeling the first flutter of movement within. Her baby, their baby, was making its presence known, unaware of the schemes being plotted above. The pregnancy was still her secret, shared only with Marina and her doctor. She had planned to tell Karim when the time was right, hoping it might bridge the gulf between them. Now she wasn't so sure. Later that night, as she prepared for bed, Sarah received an unexpected visit from Amira, Karim's younger sister. Unlike the rest of the Al Rahman family, Amira had always shown Sarah genuine kindness. "I saw the way Sophia looked at you today," Amira said, closing the bedroom door behind her. "How you need to be careful, Sarah. That woman, she's not just after the business. She wants everything, the company, the family name, and most importantly, your husband." "What can I do?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. Karim barely acknowledges my existence anymore. Amira took Sarah's hands in hers, her expression serious. Fight back. You're an Al-Rahman now, whether they like it or not. And I have information about Sophia Chen that might interest you. Information that could change everything. Amira led Sarah to her private study, a warm space filled with books and family photographs, a stark contrast to the cold modernity of the rest of the mansion. She closed the door quietly behind them and activated the sound-dampening system, a feature Sarah hadn't known existed in the house. What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room, Amira began, retrieving a leather portfolio from her safe. I've been tracking Sophia Chen's business dealings for the past year, ever since she first appeared in Dubai's business circles. Her rise to power seemed too perfect, too calculated. Sarah settled into a plush armchair, her hand resting protectively over her stomach, a gesture that didn't escape Amira's notice. You're pregnant, Amira stated, her eyes widening. It wasn't a question. Almost 3 months, Sarah confirmed softly. Only Marina knows, and now you. I haven't found the right moment to tell Karim. Amira's expression softened with concern before returning to the matter at hand. She spread several documents across her desk. Sophia Chen isn't who she claims to be. The empire she built, it's built on sand and secrets. Her supposed technological breakthroughs in sustainable energy. They're stolen innovations, acquired through corporate espionage and manipulation. Sarah leaned forward, examining the papers. Financial records, corporate documents, and surveillance photographs painted a picture very different from Sophia's polished public image. How did you get all this? I've always been the family member who watches and listens while everyone else talks, Amira explained. Father taught me that information is power, and I've made it my business to know everything about anyone who gets close to our family. Sophia has left a trail of broken companies and betrayed partners across Asia. She enters struggling companies as a savior, gains control through mergers, and then strips them of their assets and innovations. The revelation hit Sarah like a physical blow. And now she's targeting the Al-Rahman group? Yes, but it's more personal this time. She wants everything, the company, the family influence, and Karim. She's not just a businesswoman making a deal. She's orchestrating a complete takeover. Sarah's mind raced with implications. Does your father know about this? Father has been in poor health lately, which is why he's been absent from recent business dealings. Karim has been making decisions independently, and Sophia is taking advantage of that freedom. Amira paused, choosing her next words carefully. But there's something else you should know. Sophia has been meeting secretly with members of our board of directors, promising them greater power and profits once she gains control. The pieces started falling into place in Sarah's mind. The late-night meetings, the whispered conversations, the way certain board members had begun treating her with even more disdain than usual. She's staging a corporate coup. Exactly. And Karim. Amira hesitated. Karim is so blinded by her charm and the promise of expanding his empire that he can't see he's being played. The merger documents he's so eager to sign would give her significant control over our company's decision-making process. Sarah stood up and walked to the window, watching the Dubai skyline shimmer in the distance. She had entered this marriage as a business arrangement, expecting nothing more than a life of comfortable isolation. But now, with her unborn child's future at stake, she felt something stirring within her, a fierce determination she hadn't known she possessed. What about the sustainable energy technology? Sarah asked, turning back to Amira. If it's stolen, there must be evidence, original owners who could expose her. Amira smiled, a glimmer of approval in her eyes. Now you're thinking like an Al-Rahman. Yes, there are people who could expose her, but they've been silenced through legal threats and financial pressure. However, she pulled out another document from her portfolio. I've located one of the original inventors. He's been living quietly in Istanbul, afraid to speak out. Istanbul. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. Karim mentioned a business trip to Turkey next week. Sophia's been insisting on accompanying him. Yes, and now you're invited too, Amira revealed, handing Sarah an envelope. I took the liberty of adding you to the trip's arrangements. Sophia won't be happy about it, but as Karim's wife, you have every right to be there. Sarah opened the envelope with trembling fingers, finding travel documents and an itinerary. But what can I do? Sophia has already won Karim's trust completely. You have something she doesn't, Amira said, reaching out to squeeze Sarah's hand. You're carrying the next Al-Rahman heir. Once Karim knows, it will change the dynamics completely. And more importantly, you have me. I've spent years building a network of loyal contacts throughout our business empire. We just need to be strategic about how and when we use our advantages. As they continued planning into the night, Sarah felt a new sense of purpose emerging. From her fear and isolation, the young woman who had entered this marriage as a passive participant was gone. In her place stood someone ready to fight, not just for herself, but for her child and the legacy they both deserved. The private jet touched down in Istanbul as the sun was setting, painting the city's iconic skyline in shades of gold and purple. Sarah watched through the window as Sophia practically draped herself over Karim during the landing, pointing out landmarks with excessive enthusiasm. The scene made her stomach turn, though she wasn't sure if it was the morning sickness or the display before her. The Four Seasons Bosphorus welcomed them with the exceptional service reserved for their most elite guests. Sarah noticed how the hotel staff had been carefully briefed about their arrival. They addressed Sophia with nearly the same deference as herself, despite Sarah being the official Mrs. Al-Rahman. Another small power play that didn't go unnoticed. I've arranged for us to have the royal suite, Karim announced as they entered the palatial lobby. Sarah, you'll be comfortable in the ambassador suite on the floor below. Before Sarah could respond, Sophia interjected smoothly. Oh, but the royal suite has that gorgeous view of the Bosphorus you promised to show me, perfect for our late-night strategy sessions. She shot Sarah a triumphant look. Actually, Sarah spoke up, her voice steady despite her racing heart, as your wife, I believe my place is by your side, Karim, especially since I haven't been feeling quite myself lately. She placed a meaningful hand on her stomach, watching Karim's expression carefully. The silence that followed was deafening. Karim's eyes widened slightly, the first genuine surprise she'd seen from him in months. Sophia's perfectly maintained smile faltered for just a moment before she recovered. You're pregnant, Karim asked, his voice barely above a whisper. 3 months, Sarah confirmed, lifting her chin slightly. I was waiting for the right moment to tell you. The dynamic in the lobby shifted instantly. Hotel staff busied themselves with luggage, pretending not to notice the tension, while Sophia's face underwent a remarkable series of micro-expressions: shock, calculation, and finally, a forced smile. How wonderful, Sophia purred, though her eyes had turned glacial. All the more reason for you to rest comfortably in the ambassador suite, dear. The royal suite can be quite busy with all our meetings, and in your condition— I'm pregnant, not invalid, Sarah interrupted, channeling every ounce of authority she'd learned from watching Amira. And these meetings concern the future of the Al-Rahman Group, my child's inheritance. I think it's time I took a more active role, don't you agree, Karim? Karim looked between the two women, caught in an unexpected power struggle. His business instincts warred with traditional values and newly awakened paternal concerns. Finally, he made a decision that surprised them all. The royal suite is large enough for both my wife and our business meetings, he declared. Sophia, you'll find the ambassador suite more than comfortable. We'll convene for dinner in 2 hours. As they were escorted to their respective suites, Sarah felt Sophia's gaze burning into her back. She had won this round, but she knew the real battle was just beginning. Once inside their suite, Karim turned to her, his expression unreadable. Why didn't you tell me sooner? He demanded. Would you have listened? Sarah countered softly. When was the last time we had a real conversation, Karim? One that wasn't about business or social obligations? Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, perhaps even regret. But before he could respond, his phone buzzed with messages from board members about the upcoming meetings. The moment passed, but something had shifted between them. Sarah used the time before dinner to connect with Amira via a secure line they had set up. The inventor is staying at a small hotel in the old city, Amira informed her. He's agreed to meet tomorrow, but he's terrified of being discovered. You'll need to be extremely careful. Sophia has eyes everywhere. What about the evidence? Sarah asked, keeping her voice low. It's complicated, Amira replied. The original patents were filed under a different company name, one that supposedly went bankrupt years ago. But if we can get the inventor to testify about how Sophia acquired the technology. A knock at the door interrupted their conversation. Mrs. Al-Rahman, Marina called out. Miss Chen is requesting to speak with Mr. Al-Rahman about an urgent development with the Asian markets. Sarah ended the call, watching as Sophia swept into their suite, armed with tablets and documents. The businesswoman's smile was sharp as a blade as she approached Karim. We have a situation that requires immediate attention, she announced, pointedly ignoring Sarah's presence. But Sarah wasn't about to be dismissed. She settled herself comfortably on the suite's plush sofa, directly in Sophia's line of sight. Please tell us about this urgent situation, she said pleasantly. As Karim's wife and the mother of the next Al-Rahman heir, I'm very interested in anything that affects our company's future. The emphasis on our company made Sophia's eye twitch, a tiny tell that satisfied Sarah immensely. The game was changing, and Sophia Chen was about to learn that underestimating Sarah Al-Rahman had been her first major mistake. The morning sun sparkled on the Bosphorus as Sarah prepared for her clandestine meeting. She had told Karim she was going shopping in the Grand Bazaar, a perfectly reasonable activity for a tourist in Istanbul. What she hadn't mentioned was her real destination, a small cafe tucked away in the winding streets of the old city, where Amira's contact awaited. Marina had helped her choose an outfit that would blend in with the crowds, a modest knee-length dress and a light scarf, nothing like her usual designer wardrobe. As she adjusted the scarf in the mirror, she caught sight of Sophia watching her from the doorway of the suite's common area. Shopping? How quaint, Sophia remarked, her tone dripping with false sweetness. Though I must say, you seem rather overdressed for the bazaar. One might think you had other plans. Sarah met Sophia's gaze in the mirror, maintaining her composure. The bazaar can be quite conservative. I prefer to respect local customs. Of course, Sophia smiled, running her fingers along a nearby vase. It's just that Karim and I have some rather important meetings today. As his wife, shouldn't you be more interested in the company's future than in buying trinkets? I think we both know my interest in the company's future is precisely why you're concerned, Sophia. Sarah turned to face her directly. Watching, me having me followed, it seems like an awful lot of effort for someone you consider irrelevant. Something dangerous flashed in Sophia's eyes before she masked it with another smile. Such imagination you have, Sarah. But then what else would one expect from a teenager playing at being a businessman's wife? Before Sarah could respond, Karim entered the suite. Sophia, the board members are waiting for our video conference. Sarah, enjoy your shopping. He barely glanced at his wife as he ushered Sophia toward the suite's business center. Sarah waited 30 minutes after they left before making her own exit. Marina had arranged for a trusted driver, one of Amira's contacts, to take her to the meeting point. As they wound through Istanbul's ancient streets, Sarah checked her phone, finding a message from Amira. Be careful. Says his people are watching the hotel. The cafe was small and unremarkable, the kind of place tourists would pass without a second glance. Sarah entered, ordered a Turkish coffee, and waited. 10 minutes later, a middle-aged man with tired eyes and nervous hands sat down across from her. Mrs. Al-Rahman, he asked quietly in accented English. I'm Dr. Mehmet Aydin. Your sister-in-law said I could trust you. You can, Sarah assured him, sliding a phone across the table, a secure device Amira had provided. Tell me about the technology Sophia Chen stole from you. For the next hour, Dr. Aydin revealed the truth behind Sophia's empire. He had been part of a research team developing revolutionary sustainable energy technology. Their small company had been struggling, but making breakthrough progress when Sophia appeared, offering investment and partnership. She seemed like an angel of mercy, he explained, his hands trembling slightly. But once she had access to our research, everything changed. Strange accidents began happening in the lab. Key team members received threats. Then the company was suddenly bankrupt. Our patents somehow transferred to her holding companies. Do you have proof? Sarah asked. Dr. Aiden nodded, pulling out a small flash drive. Original research documents, early patents, emails, everything that proves she stole our work. I've been keeping it safe, waiting for someone powerful enough to stand up to her. Just as Sarah reached for the drive, her phone buzzed with an urgent message from Marina. "Return immediately, something's wrong." Sarah quickly secured the flash drive and thanked Dr. Aiden, promising to protect him. As her driver sped back to the hotel, another message came through. S convinced K to move dinner meeting to exclusive hammam spa, insisting you join. Be careful. The Four Seasons ancient hammam was a stunning space of marble and mosaic, traditionally used for ritual cleansing and relaxation. But as Sarah was led through its ornate doors that evening, she felt anything but relaxed. Sophia had arranged a private spa experience before dinner, just the three of them. "Sarah, darling," Sophia called out, already wrapped in a luxurious spa robe. "Karim's running late with calls, but he'll join us for dinner. I thought this would be the perfect opportunity for some girl talk." The attendants guided Sarah to a private changing area, but when she emerged, she found herself alone in the vast hammam with Sophia. Steam filled the space, making the marble walls seem to disappear into a mysterious haze. "You know," Sophia's voice echoed off the ancient stones, "it's fascinating how history repeats itself. Did you know that in the Ottoman era, these hammams witnessed countless political intrigues? So many secrets whispered in the steam, so many rivals eliminated." Sarah felt her heart race, but kept her voice steady. "Is that a threat, Sophia?" "A history lesson," Sophia replied, moving closer through the mist. "About what happens to those who interfere with carefully laid plans. Now, why don't you tell me about your meeting in the old city today?" The steam swirled around them like a living thing, creating shifting shadows on the ancient marble walls. Sarah maintained her distance from Sophia, acutely aware of the slippery floor beneath her feet and the growing sense of isolation in the vast hammam. "I don't know what you're talking about," Sarah replied calmly, though her heart was racing. "I spent the day at the Grand Bazaar, as I said I would." Sophia's laugh echoed off the domed ceiling. "Let's not play games, Sarah. I know about your meeting with Dr. Aiden. My people followed you to that charming little cafe. The question is, what did the good doctor tell you?" Sarah's mind raced. If Sophia knew about the meeting, she might also know about the flash drive. She needed to protect that information at all costs. "He told me enough to know that your empire is built on lies," she said, buying time as she tried to plan her next move. "Lies or strategic acquisition of underutilized assets." Sophia moved. Closer, her silk robe rustling against the marble floor. "The business world isn't a fairy tale, Sarah. It's about power and those who know how to take it. Your marriage to Karim, wasn't that also a strategic acquisition?" "My marriage is none of your concern," Sarah countered, taking a step back. "What concerns me is how you plan to destroy my husband's company." "Destroy?" Sophia's eyes widened in mock innocence. "I plan to elevate it, to take the Al-Rahman Group beyond what Karim's limited vision can imagine, and he sees it too. Why do you think he's been so receptive to my ideas?" The steam grew thicker, making it harder to see clearly. Sarah felt dizzy, the heat becoming overwhelming. Something wasn't right. The temperature seemed to be rising beyond normal levels. "You're feeling it, aren't you?" Sophia's voice came through the dense steam. "The special blend of herbs I had added to the steam. Nothing dangerous, of course, just something to help you relax. In your condition, you should be especially careful about overexerting yourself." Sarah's vision blurred slightly. She needed to get out, but Sophia was blocking the path to the door. "You know about the baby?" "I know everything, Sarah, including how this child is your only real claim to power in this family. Such a shame if something were to happen." Sophia let the threat hang in the air. Suddenly the door to the hammam opened, letting in a blast of cooler air. "Sarah, are you in here?" Amira's voice cut through the steam like a blade. "We're here just having a lovely chat," Sophia called out, her tone instantly transforming into one of friendly concern. "Though I think the heat might be too much for Sarah in her delicate condition." Amira appeared through the steam, her expression sharp as she took in the scene. "The attendant seemed to have made a mistake with the temperature controls," she said pointedly. "I've had them correct it. Sarah, you should come with me. Your doctor called the hotel something about your prenatal vitamins." Sarah felt Sophia's eyes burning into her as Amira helped her toward the door. Once in the relative safety of the changing area, she leaned against the wall, her head still spinning. "Marina messaged me about the suspicious spa arrangement," Amira explained quietly as she helped Sarah change. "I came as quickly as I could. Did she hurt you?" "No," Sarah whispered, her hand protectively over her stomach. "But she knows about Dr. Aiden, about the baby and everything. She's been watching us the whole time." "Of course she has," Amira replied, her voice hard. "But she made a mistake today. The hammam's security cameras caught everything, including her admission about tampering with the steam. The hotel management is very interested in how their systems were accessed without authorization." Sarah's mind cleared slightly as the effects of the herbs began to fade. "She's getting desperate. She knows we have evidence against her." "Yes, and desperate people are dangerous." Amira helped Sarah to her feet. "But we have something she doesn't expect. The entire Al-Rahman family's support. Father may have been quiet lately, but he's been watching everything. He never trusted Sophia, and now he has proof of her true intentions." As they made their way back to the royal suite, they passed Karim in the hallway. He stopped short at the sight of Sarah's pale face and shaking hands. "What happened?" he demanded, genuine concern breaking through his usual reserve. "Why don't you ask your business partner?" Amira suggested coldly. "She seems to have very specific ideas about how to handle your pregnant wife." For the first time since their marriage, Sarah saw real emotion crack through Karim's carefully maintained facade. He looked between his wife and the direction of the hammam, conflict evident in his expression. "We need to talk," he said finally, taking Sarah's arm gently. "All of us, including Father. There are things you both need to know about Sophia Chen and decisions that need to be made." As they entered the suite, Sarah caught a glimpse of her reflection in a mirror. Despite her ordeal, she stood straighter, stronger. She was no longer the naive teenager who had entered this marriage. She was an Al-Rahman, carrying the future of the family within her, and she was ready to fight for that future. The royal suite's living room had become a makeshift war room. Sarah sat on the plush sofa, still wrapped in a warm robe after her ordeal in the hammam, while Karim paced nervously in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Bosphorus. Amira had positioned herself protectively near Sarah, while their father, Abdullah Al-Rahman, joined them via secure video conference from Dubai. "I should have seen it sooner," Karim began, running his hands through his usually impeccable hair. "The signs were there, but I was too blinded by the potential of the merger." "Begin at the beginning, my son," Abdullah's voice came through, clearly from the screen, his tone carrying the weight of decades of business experience. "Tell them everything." Karim stopped pacing and faced his family. 3 months ago, before Sophia Chen appeared in Dubai, I received a troubling report about irregularities in some of our Asian subsidiaries. Small discrepancies at first, contracts that seemed altered, partnerships that didn't quite add up. I began a quiet investigation. And that's when Sophia conveniently appeared. Amira interjected, her eyes narrowing. "Yes," Karim admitted. "She presented herself as the solution to our problems, her connections in Asia, her seemingly revolutionary technology. It all appeared to be exactly what we needed. But she was actually behind the problems in the first place." Sarah leaned forward. "She created the problems so she could sweep in as the savior." "A classic manipulation tactic," Abdullah commented. "One I've seen before, though never executed with such precision." Karim moved to sit beside Sarah, surprising her by taking her hand. "What you don't know is that I've been gathering evidence against her for weeks, playing along with her schemes while documenting everything, but I didn't expect her to." He squeezed Sarah's hand. "I never thought she would threaten you or our child." The tenderness in his voice made Sarah's heart skip. This was a side of Karim she'd never seen before. Vulnerable, protective, human. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I thought I was protecting you by keeping you at a distance," he replied, regret evident in his voice. "Instead, I left you vulnerable to her manipulations. When you told me about the pregnancy today, I realized how much I'd risked by playing this dangerous game. The pregnancy changes everything, Abdullah declared. Sophia knows this. An Al-Rahman heir strengthens Sarah's position considerably. We must move carefully now. Amira pulled out her tablet, bringing up a series of documents. We have more than just Karim's evidence now. Dr. Aydin provided proof of how Sophia stole his technology. The hotel's security footage from today shows her threatening Sarah, and I've uncovered a pattern of similar incidents across Asia. Other pregnant wives who experienced mysterious accidents when their husbands' companies merged with Sophia's. Sarah felt a chill despite the warmth of her robe. She's done this before, but never successfully, Abdullah assured them. The previous attempts were with smaller companies, less powerful families. She became overconfident in targeting the Al-Rahman group. Father, Karim said, standing again, but keeping hold of Sarah's hand. I take full responsibility for bringing this danger to our family. I should have trusted my instincts sooner, should have consulted you before entertaining any merger discussions. The past cannot be changed, Abdullah replied wisely, but the future is still in our hands. Sarah, my dear, you have shown remarkable strength and wisdom for one so young. You could have run from this challenge, but instead, you chose to fight for our family's legacy. You are truly an Al-Rahman. Sarah felt tears threatening to fall at her father-in-law's words. For the first time since her marriage, she felt truly accepted as part of the family. So what do we do now? Amira asked, ever practical. Sophia won't take any of this lying down. She'll fight back with everything she has. She already knows we have Dr. Aydin's evidence, Sarah pointed out. She'll try to discredit him, maybe even silence him completely. Which is why I've already arranged for his protection, Karim revealed. He's been moved to a secure location, along with copies of all his documentation. But Sophia doesn't know about my separate investigation or about the other families who've agreed to testify against her. We need to be strategic, Abdullah counseled. Sophia Chen has built her empire on secrets and lies. The truth revealed at the right moment will be her downfall. A knock at the door interrupted their discussion. Marina entered, her face pale. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Miss Chen is insisting on seeing Mr. Al-Rahman. She says it's urgent, something about an emergency board meeting she's called for tomorrow morning. Karim exchanged glances with his family. So it begins, he said, grimly. She's making her move sooner than we expected. Then we'll make ours, Sarah declared, standing up despite her exhaustion, but this time we'll face her together. As they quickly formulated their plan, Sarah felt a new kind of strength flowing through her. The lonely, isolated teenager she had been just months ago was gone. In her place stood a woman who had found her power, her voice, and most surprisingly, her true family in the midst of crisis. Looking at Karim, she saw him watching her with new eyes, not as a business transaction or a social obligation, but as a partner, a mother-to-be, a force to be reckoned with. Whatever Sophia Chen had planned for tomorrow's board meeting, she would learn that underestimating an Al-Rahman, any Al-Rahman, was a dangerous mistake. The Istanbul sunrise painted the hotel's executive conference room in shades of amber as board members filed in for the emergency meeting. Sarah sat beside Karim at the head of the massive oak table, her presence causing raised eyebrows among the more conservative members. Amira had positioned herself strategically near the room's entrance, laptop open and ready. Sophia Chen strode in last, pausing momentarily when she saw Sarah's position at the table. If she was surprised by Sarah's recovery from yesterday's hammam incident, she masked it well. I see we're making this a family affair, Sophia commented smoothly, taking her seat. How quaint. Family is the foundation of the Al-Rahman group, Karim replied firmly. Something you seem to have forgotten in your recent proposals, Ms. Chen. The board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had grown used to Karim's apparent infatuation with Sophia and her ideas. This new, more confrontational tone was unexpected. Speaking of proposals, Sophia began, pulling out a stack of documents, I've called this emergency meeting because new information has come to light that requires immediate action. The Asian markets are volatile, and the window of opportunity for our merger is closing rapidly. She began distributing the documents, her perfectly manicured nails gleaming under the conference room lights. These papers outline an accelerated merger plan. If we act now, we can secure our position before our competitors realize what's happening. Competitors? Sarah spoke up, her voice clear and steady. Or perhaps you mean the rightful owners of the technology you're so eager to merge with our company? A ripple of murmurs went through the board members. Sophia's smile remained fixed, but her eyes hardened. I'm not sure what you're implying, Mrs. Al-Rahman, but perhaps such technical discussions are better left to those with more experience. Oh, I agree completely about experience, Sarah replied, nodding to Amira, who began distributing her own set of documents. Which is why I think the board should hear from someone with first-hand experience of your business practices. The conference room's massive screen flickered to life, revealing Dr. Aydin's face. The board members leaned forward, intrigued by this unexpected development. Distinguished members of the board, Dr. Aydin began, his voice steady despite his obvious nervousness. My name is Dr. Mehmet Aydin, and I am the original inventor of the sustainable energy technology that Ms. Chen claims as her own. Sophia's composure cracked slightly. This is absurd. This man is clearly being paid to discredit me. The documents in front of you, Karim interrupted, include original patents, research notes, and correspondence that prove Dr. Aydin's claims. But perhaps more interesting are the records of similar incidents across Asia. Other companies that Ms. Chen targeted using the same methods. Methods that sometimes turned dangerous, Amira added, pulling up security footage from the hammam on the screen. The board members watched in horror as Sophia's threats to Sarah played out before them. One of the older board members, Mr. Rahman, no relation, stood up angrily. Ms. Chen, is this how you conduct business? By threatening pregnant women? You don't understand, Sophia protested, her carefully constructed facade beginning to crumble. Everything I did was for the good of the company. The Al-Rahman Group needs to evolve, to become more aggressive in the global market. What we need, Abdullah's voice boomed through the conference room speakers as his image appeared on screen beside Dr. Aydin's, is to remain true to the principles that have guided this company for generations: honor, integrity, and family. The board members straightened in their seats. Abdullah Al-Rahman's presence, even virtual, commanded immediate respect. Ms. Chen, Abdullah continued, you saw our family's values as weaknesses to be exploited. You thought you could manipulate my son through his ambition, divide our family through fear, and steal our company through deceit. But you failed to understand one crucial thing. The Al-Rahman name is not just a brand. It's a legacy of trust, built over generations. Sophia stood up, desperation breaking through her polished exterior. The merger documents are already being processed. Several board members have already signed. Actually, one of the board members she had gestured to spoke up. We haven't signed anything. Thanks to some anonymous warnings about potential irregularities in your business practices. Amira smiled slightly at this, her network of contacts having proved invaluable once again. Furthermore, Karim added, our legal team has uncovered evidence of insider trading related to our subsidiaries in Asia. The same subsidiaries that began experiencing mysterious problems just before you appeared with your convenient solutions. The color drained from Sophia's face as she realized the extent of her exposure. She reached for her phone, but Amira was faster. I wouldn't make any calls right now, Ms. Chen, Amira advised. The authorities are very interested in speaking with you about certain financial transactions that coincide with the sudden bankruptcies of several technology firms across Asia. Sarah watched as the woman who had threatened her family's future crumbled before their eyes. But there was no satisfaction in the victory, only relief that the nightmare was ending. In the quiet of their hotel suite that evening, Sarah stood by the window watching the lights of Istanbul twinkle across the Bosphorus. The day's events played through her mind like scenes from a movie. Sophia's exposure, the board's reaction, the vindication of Dr. Aydin. It felt surreal, as if the past few months of tension and fear had evaporated like morning mist. The door opened softly behind her, and she turned to see Karim entering, his tie loosened and jacket removed. He looked different somehow. Younger, more vulnerable, the weight of deception lifted from his shoulders. "The legal team has finished the preliminary paperwork," he said, moving to stand beside her at the window. "Sophia won't be able to access any of her accounts or leave the country until the investigation is complete." "And Dr. Aydin?" Sarah asked. "He'll be fully credited as the inventor of the technology, with appropriate compensation for everything he's lost. Father is offering him a position as head of research and development for our new sustainable energy division." Sarah nodded, pleased that some justice had been served. A comfortable silence fell between them, different from the tense quiet that had characterized their marriage thus far. "I owe you an apology," Karim finally said, turning to face her. "Many apologies, actually." "Karim, please let me finish." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she was beginning to recognize as a sign of genuine emotion. "When our marriage was arranged, I saw it as just another business transaction. You were so young, so different from my world, that I convinced myself keeping you at a distance was best for everyone." Sarah watched him struggle with words that didn't come easily to a man trained to maintain control at all times. "I thought I was protecting the company by entertaining Sophia's proposals," he continued. "Instead, I nearly lost everything that truly matters. You saw through her from the beginning, didn't you? I saw someone who wanted to take everything we had built," Sarah replied softly. "The company, the family name, our future." "Our future," Karim repeated, his hand moving tentatively to rest on her still flat stomach. "I've been thinking about that a lot today, about the kind of father I want to be, the kind of husband I should have been from the start." The tender gesture brought tears to Sarah's eyes. "It's not too late, you know, we're just beginning." A knock at the door interrupted the moment. Amira entered, her face glowing with satisfaction. "The board just finished their emergency session. They've unanimously voted to remove any directors who were knowingly complicit in Sophia's schemes." "How many?" Karim asked. "Only 2, thankfully. Most were simply misled by her manipulations, but that's not the best part." Amira's smile widened. "They've also voted to create a new position, Deputy Chief of Innovation and Community Relations. They want Sarah to fill it." Sarah's mouth fell open in surprise. "Me? But I don't have any experience." "You have exactly the experience we need," Karim interrupted. "You understand both worlds, East and West. You see people for who they really are, not just what they can offer. And most importantly, you never lost sight of what makes the Al Rahman Group special, our commitment to family and community. The board was particularly impressed by how you handled the situation with Dr. Aydin," Amira added. "They see the value in having someone who can bridge cultural gaps and build genuine relationships." Sarah felt overwhelmed by the sudden shift in her position, from trophy wife to respected executive. But hadn't she already proven she could handle challenges? Far greater than she'd imagined. "There's more," Amira continued, settling onto the suite's plush sofa. "Father wants us all to return to Dubai tomorrow. He's planning a proper family celebration, both for the baby and for saving the company. He says it's time to show the world that the Al Rahman family is stronger than ever." "And what about the merger?" Sarah asked. "All those plans for expansion?" "We'll still expand," Karim assured her, "but on our terms with legitimate partners who share our values, starting with properly developing Dr. Aydin's technology and using it to make a real difference in sustainable energy." As they discussed plans for the future, Sarah felt a profound shift in the atmosphere. The suite that had felt like a gilded cage now felt like a family room, filled with warmth and possibility. The Al Rahman Empire hadn't just survived a crisis, it had evolved, becoming stronger by embracing change while staying true to its core values. Later that night, as she prepared for bed, Sarah found a small package on her pillow. Inside was a delicate silver locket, obviously antique, with the Al Rahman family crest engraved on its surface. "It belonged to my grandmother," Karim said, softly from the doorway. She was also a young bride who helped save the family business, though that's a story for another time. "Father thought you should have it now." As Sarah held the locket, she felt the weight of history and tradition, but it no longer felt suffocating. Instead, it felt like a bridge between past and future, between duty and love, between the girl she had been and the woman she had become. The Dubai skyline sparkled in the evening light as the Al Rahman private jet touched down. Sarah watched through the window as the familiar landscape of her adopted home came into view. But everything felt different now. The city that had once seemed like an elaborate prison now felt like a land of possibilities. The atmosphere on the flight had been relaxed, worlds away from the tense journey to Istanbul just days before. Karim had spent most of the flight working beside her, genuinely interested in her ideas for the new community relations division. Amira had dozed contentedly across from them, finally able to rest after weeks of running her intricate intelligence network. As they descended the plane's steps, Sarah was surprised to see Abdullah al-Rahman waiting on the tarmac, standing tall despite his recent health concerns. The family patriarch rarely made public appearances these days, making his presence here all the more significant. "My children," he said warmly, embracing each of them in turn. When he came to Sarah, his hug was especially gentle. "And my newest daughter, who has proven herself worthy of the Al-Rahman name 1,000 times over." Sarah felt tears welling up at his words. This was the welcome she had dreamed of, but never expected when she first arrived in Dubai as a bewildered teenage bride. The drive to the family mansion was filled with comfortable conversation, another marked change from the silent car rides Sarah had grown accustomed to. Abdullah insisted on hearing every detail of the confrontation with Sophia, chuckling at Amira's strategic brilliance and beaming with pride at Sarah's composure under pressure. "The board made the right decision in appointing you to the executive team," Abdullah said to Sarah. "We need fresh perspectives, someone who understands that true strength comes from unity, not division." As they approached the mansion's grand entrance, Sarah noticed something different. The austere facade was softened by welcoming lights, and the gardens she had planted in her early days of loneliness were in full bloom. "I had them maintain your gardens exactly as you designed them," Karim said quietly, noticing her surprise. "Even when I was at my most distant, I could see how much love you put into creating something beautiful here." Inside, the house had been transformed. The formal sitting room, usually reserved for business meetings, had been converted into a warm family space. Photos from throughout the Al-Rahman history lined the walls, including, Sarah noticed with emotion, several from her wedding day that she'd never seen before, capturing moments of genuine joy she'd forgotten existed. Marina appeared with refreshments, her familiar presence now feeling more like family than staff. "The nursery designs you requested have arrived, Mr. Karim," she announced with a knowing smile. "They're in your study." Sarah turned to her husband in surprise. "Nursery designs?" Karim actually looked embarrassed, an expression she'd never seen on him before. "I thought, well, now that we're really embracing this new chapter, our child deserves a special space, something that combines both our cultures, our hopes for the future." "Speaking of the future," Abdullah said, settling into his favorite armchair, "the board is very excited about your proposal to establish the Al-Rahman Foundation for Innovation and Education, Sarah. Using our resources to support young inventors and entrepreneurs like Dr. Aidin, preventing them from falling prey to predators like Sophia Chen, it's exactly the kind of legacy we should be building. We've already received inquiries from several legitimate technology firms interested in ethical partnerships," Amira added. "Your story has spread through the business community, Sarah. You're becoming something of a symbol for positive change in corporate culture." Sarah felt overwhelmed by how much had changed in such a short time. Just months ago, she had been a lonely teenager, trapped in a loveless marriage, desperate to find her place in this glittering but cold world. Now, she was helping to reshape that world into something warmer, more inclusive, more aligned with her own values. "There is one more surprise," Karim said, taking her hand. "Father and I have been discussing the future of the company's leadership." Abdullah nodded encouragingly. "Go on, son, tell her your decision." "I've realized that being a good leader means knowing when to share power, when to trust others' strengths," Karim continued. which is why I've asked the board to approve a co-CEO structure. You and me, Sarah, leading the company together, combining my experience with your vision for the future." Sarah gasped. "But I'm not ready. I haven't even started in my new position yet." "You've proven yourself more than ready," Abdullah interjected. "You saved this company not through business acumen alone, but through emotional intelligence, ethical leadership, and an unwavering commitment to what's right. These are the qualities that will guide the Al Rahman Group into the future." As the family continued discussing plans for the future, Sarah felt the baby move within her, a tiny flutter of movement, as if agreeing with these new developments. She placed her hand on her stomach, and Karim, noticing the gesture, placed his hand over hers. In that moment, surrounded by her family, Sarah realized that sometimes the biggest transformations come not from grand gestures or dramatic confrontations, but from small moments of connection, understanding, and love. 6 months had passed since the confrontation in Istanbul, and the Al Rahman Group headquarters buzzed with a new energy. The once austere executive floor had been transformed, its chrome and marble softened by touches of warmth and inclusivity. Sarah's influence was evident everywhere, from the open-door policy that encouraged communication between departments to the prayer and meditation room that welcomed employees of all faiths. Sarah sat in her office, reviewing the latest proposals for the Al Rahman Foundation's first round of grants. Her growing baby bump was now visible beneath her elegant maternity business suit, and she wore her grandmother-in-law's locket proudly around her neck. The wall behind her desk displayed both her new Harvard Business School online certification, completed at Karim's encouraging insistence, and traditional Arabic calligraphy that spoke of wisdom and compassion. "Mrs. Al Rahman," Marina called from the doorway. "Doctor, Hayden's team is ready for the presentation." Sarah smiled, remembering how far they'd come since that clandestine meeting in an Istanbul cafe. Dr. Aydin now led the company's most promising division, his sustainable energy technology finally being developed with the resources and recognition it deserved. The presentation room was packed, not just with executives, but with engineers, researchers, and even maintenance staff. This too was part of Sarah's influence, breaking down the hierarchical barriers that had once divided the company. Thanks to the support of the Al Rahman Group, Dr. Aydin began, his confidence now matching his brilliance. "We're not just developing clean energy solutions, we're creating a model for ethical innovation that's already being adopted by companies across the region." As he detailed the project's progress, Sarah felt Karim's hand slip into hers under the conference table. These small gestures of affection, once unthinkable, had become natural between them. Their marriage had evolved into a true partnership, strengthened by shared purpose and mutual respect. After the presentation, Sarah had another important meeting, this time with a group of young female entrepreneurs from across the Middle East. The mentorship program had been her idea, inspired by her own journey from outsider to leader. "Your story gives us hope," one young woman from Lebanon said earnestly. "It shows that change is possible, that tradition and progress can coexist. The key is respecting the wisdom of the past while embracing the possibilities of the future," Sarah replied, sharing the lessons she had learned through experience, and remembering that true strength comes from lifting others up, not pushing them down. Later that afternoon, Sarah joined Amira in the company's new daycare center, another innovation that had initially raised eyebrows, but was now celebrated as a model of corporate responsibility. The sound of children's laughter echoed through the specially designed space. "Remember when you first arrived?" Amira asked, watching a group of toddlers playing together, children of executives and janitors alike, all equal in their innocent joy. "You were so lost, so afraid." "I remember feeling like I would never belong," Sarah admitted, rubbing her belly thoughtfully. "Now I can't imagine being anywhere else." The sisters-in-law made their way to the family wing of the building, where Abdullah had insisted on creating a private space for family members to gather during the workday. They found him there, teaching Arabic calligraphy to a group of employees' children, another bridge between cultures that Sarah's presence had inspired. "Ah, my dear ones," Abdullah greeted them warmly. "I was just telling these young artists about their heritage, both the one they were born into and the one they're creating together. As Sarah settled into a comfortable chair, she reflected on how the Al Rahman Group had been transformed. The company's profits had actually increased since they'd adopted a more ethical, inclusive approach to business. Their reputation had soared, attracting talented people who shared their values. Even their competitors were beginning to follow their lead, recognizing that success and social responsibility could go hand in hand. "We just received word," Amira announced, checking her phone. "The International Business Council has chosen you, Sarah, to give the keynote speech at their annual conference. They want you to speak about transforming corporate culture through ethical leadership." Sarah felt a mix of pride and humility. A year ago, I could barely speak up in a board meeting. Now you're showing the world that power doesn't have to corrupt, Abdullah said proudly. That the strongest legacies are built on compassion, integrity, and respect for all people. The sunlight streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow over the family gathering. Outside, the Dubai skyline stretched toward the heavens, a testament to human ambition. But within these walls, Sarah had helped create something even more impressive. A place where ambition was tempered by humanity, where success was measured not just in profits, but in positive impact. As she felt her baby kick, Sarah smiled, knowing that her child would inherit not just a business empire, but a legacy of love, respect, and positive change. The lonely teenager who had arrived in Dubai as a bride had grown into a leader who proved that the greatest transformations come not from dominance, but from understanding, not from fear, but from love. The sun was setting over Dubai, painting the city in hues of gold and rose as the Al Rahman family gathered in the mansion's grand garden. The space had been transformed into an enchanted oasis, with twinkling lights strung between the palm trees and the sweet scent of jasmine filling the air. The occasion was special, a celebration of new life and new beginnings. In the center of the gathering, Sarah sat in an intricately carved chair, her 9-month pregnant belly prominent beneath her flowing dress. Beside her, Karim beamed with pride, his hand never far from her shoulder. The past few months had seen their love grow deeper, their partnership stronger as they prepared to welcome their child into the world. "To think," Amira mused, adjusting a flower arrangement nearby. "A year ago we were all such different people. Karim was the cold businessman, I was the silent observer, and you, Sarah, you were the quiet bride who seemed so lost. And now, look at us," Sarah replied, squeezing her sister-in-law's hand. "A family in the truest sense of the word." The garden was filled with both familiar and new faces. Dr. Aiden had flown in specially for the celebration, bringing news of breakthrough developments in his sustainable energy project. Board members mingled with employees from all levels of the company, their families adding to the joyful atmosphere. Even some of the young entrepreneurs from Sarah's mentorship program were present, their success stories adding to the evening's spirit of possibility. Abdullah Al Rahman stood at the center of the gathering, his voice strong despite his years. "My dear friends and family," he began, "we are here today not just to celebrate the imminent arrival of the newest Al Rahman, but to honor the extraordinary journey that has brought us to this moment." He gestured to Sarah and Karim. "My son and daughter-in-law have shown us that true strength lies not in power over others, but in the power of understanding, compassion, and love. They have transformed not just our family business, but our understanding of what family and business can be." The crowd murmured in agreement. The Al Rahman Group's recent successes were well known. Their ethical business practices and innovative approaches had set new standards in the corporate world. But more than that, they had created a model of how tradition and progress could coexist and strengthen each other. Suddenly, Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her stomach. Karim was instantly alert, concern etched on his face. "Is it time?" Sarah nodded, a mix of excitement and anxiety in her eyes. The gathering quickly transformed into a flurry of organized activity, another testament to how well the family now worked together. Within minutes, they were on their way to the hospital, where a private suite had been prepared. Hours later, as the new day dawned over Dubai, a baby's cry echoed through the hospital corridor. Inside the suite, Sarah held their son, a perfect blend of both his parents, with Karim's dark eyes and Sarah's gentle smile. Karim sat beside them, tears of joy streaming unashamedly down his face. "Welcome to the world, little one," Sarah whispered. "You are born into a legacy of love." The baby gripped his father's finger with surprising strength, causing Karim to laugh softly. "He's an Al-Rahman, all right. Strong and determined, just like his mother." One by one, the family entered to meet its newest member. Amira cooed over her nephew, already planning his future education. Abdullah blessed his grandson in the traditional way, his voice thick with emotion. The room was filled with joy, love, and hope for the future. As Sarah watched her family gather around her son, she reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her here. From a scared teenage bride to a respected business leader, from an outsider to the heart of a loving family, from loneliness to a life overflowing with love and purpose. The Dubai skyline sparkled through the hospital window, but its glitter no longer seemed cold and intimidating. Instead, it was a reminder of how beauty could emerge from the desert, how love could bloom in the most unexpected places, and how the greatest transformations often begin with a single act of courage. "My son," she whispered to the sleeping. "Baby, you will grow up in a world where kindness is strength, where tradition and progress dance together, and where love knows no boundaries. You are the future we fought for, the dream we dared to believe in." Karim leaned down to kiss his wife and son, his eyes full of love and gratitude. "Thank you," he said simply, but those two words contained a universe of meaning. "Thank you for not giving up, for fighting for us, for showing me what really matters." As the sun rose higher over Dubai, painting the city in shades of hope and promise, the Al-Rahman family stood united, a testament to the power of love to transform, heal, and create something beautiful from life's greatest challenges. And dear listeners, we hope Sarah's journey from a lonely bride to a powerful force for positive change has touched your hearts. Her story reminds us that true strength lies not in domination, but in understanding, not in fear, but in love. To continue experiencing more such captivating stories of transformation and triumph, please subscribe to our channel and click the like button below. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. How has Sarah's story inspired you to face your own challenges with courage and compassion? Join our community of storytellers and dreamers, where each day brings a new tale of hope, love, and the incredible power of the human spirit. Until our next story, remember that every ending is just a new beginning in disguise.